Hello again, my friends. This is the second video lesson on GrandChess by Tarcisio Barison, an amateur chess player and also a bit of an amateur mathematician. I first conceived this game many years ago. Now, with the lockdowns going on, I thought, well, maybe this is the time to do it. And this is it. In this video lesson, we learn how to move your grand pieces. Let's start with this. You know what's this, right? It's a rook. And how does a rook move in chess? Well, it can reach any square on the same file or on the same row. But this one instead can move into any box in the same row, file, and column. 3 lines instead of 2. That's why this is a grand rook, not simply a rook. So, as you see, when it's not on the side of the framework, it can move into 6 different directions. This way a grand rook can reach 21 different boxes from where it is, provided there are no grand pieces in between, or the box where you move it to is not occupied by another of your own grand pieces. Also, it can take an opposite grand piece staying at the arrival box. So, a black grand rook in delta f5, for instance, can reach all the boxes you see in here. Their formation has the shape of a star. This is the grand rook's star. And folks, you have 20 grand rooks in your array when you start playing. Then we have this one, a bishop? No, a grand bishop. In chess, bishops move along diagonals, as you know, and in GrandChess02 they move on diagonals. The fact is that we have way more diagonals. Let's consider a white grand bishop casually positioned in gamma e5. We know this box belongs to level plane gamma, prospect plane E, and rank plane 5. Well, each of these planes has 2 diagonals containing the box gamma E5. So our grand bishop moves along 6 diagonals instead of 2 in normal chess. That is 12 different directions when the grand bishop is not on the side of the framework. This implies an even more complex star shape than the grand rook's star. You can see here a star made of 12 rays, and this is the grand bishop's star. Actually, the boxes a grand bishop can reach vary from a minimum of 21 to a maximum of 39. In this case, they are 35. So, is the grand bishop more powerful than a grand rook? Well, that's not really the case, because a grand bishop cannot reach the whole framework, but only boxes of one color, light or dark boxes. That is to say, only half of the grand chess framework, as you know very well in chess. Like the grand rook, a grand bishop cannot move beyond any box occupied by another grand piece. It cannot move to a box occupied by a grand piece of the same color, but it can take a grand piece of the opposite color on the arrival box. And you also have 20 grand bishops in your lineup when you start playing. And what about this? You know what it is. Yes, a grand queen. How does a grand queen move? You know the answer. Both as a grand rook and a grand bishop. It looks like you already know how to play a grand chess game. So a grand queen not positioned on the side can move into 18 different directions, both ways on 6 diagonals plus 3 lines. The boxes a grand queen can reach vary from 42 as a minimum to 60 as a maximum. In comparison, a queen in chess can reach a maximum of 27 squares. I've put this black grand queen in the central box epsilon E4, and this is the resulting star. containing as many as 60 boxes. This is the Grand Queen Star. Quite impressive, right? In the lower part, boxes are not the right color because I ran out of white boxes to show the Grand Queen Star. Like Grand Rooks and Grand Bishops, the Grand Queen cannot reach a box beyond another which is occupied or into a box occupied by a grand piece of the same color. Instead, it can reach a box occupied by an opponent's grand piece and take it. This is really the most powerful grand piece in our GrandChess framework. You have 3 Grand Queens when you start playing. Oh, let's get a look at this now. Of course, this is the Grand King. Well, it moves in the same directions as the Grand Queen, that are 18 directions, but you know how, just one step at a time. So the Grand King actually can reach 18 boxes as a maximum, although they can be less when the Grand King is on a side box or at the edge. The minimum number is 6 boxes when the Grand King is in a corner. It can capture an opponent's grand piece when moving, but it has other limitations. 1. It cannot move to a box containing a grand piece of the same color, and 2. It cannot move into a box where it's under threat of being taken by any grand piece of the opponent. Moreover, as you know very well, we cannot move any other grand piece if the move puts our Grand King under check. That is like saying in a condition of being captured by our opponent on the following move. Let's see the set of boxes a Grand King can move into. The shape formed by the 18 boxes put together is like this. We can call it a triple orbital. This solid contains the box where the Grand King is located, plus the 18 boxes it can reach. You can also imagine it as a cube with a 3-box long edge, but without the corners, deprived of vertices. However, I call this shape the Grand King's bubble. You must learn to master this bunch of boxes very well. Remember, if your Grand King is under check and you cannot capture the grand piece that's making the check, nor put another grand piece of yours to shield your Grand King from the check, nor move it into any of these boxes, then you've lost the game. You are checkmated. Conversely, if you want to win the game, you must learn how to limit the movements of your opponent's Grand King. You must prevent it from accessing all these boxes forming the bubble, either because it's near an edge, so it's not complete, or they are occupied by other opposing grand pieces, or you put checks on them. All of them. So take my advice, always keep your eyes on the bubble of your opponent's Grand King if you want to win. Oh, and you only have one Grand King throughout the whole game. Well, this other grand piece here, of course, is a Grand Knight. I suppose you know how a knight moves in traditional chess. That's like one step as a rook and one step as a bishop, or one step as a bishop and one step as a rook, as you prefer to see it. So, in normal chess, a knight can reach 8 squares that are positioned like this on the chessboard. It's a sort of a crown around the square where it is. Okay, in Grand Chess the moves are the same. If we have a Grand Knight, let's say in Zeta F5, these are the boxes it can reach on the same level plane Zeta. But as you know, the same box as Zeta F5 belongs to a prospect plane and a rank plane too. So this is where it can go on prospect plane F. And here, if we consider rank plane 5, so ultimately the boxes a Grand Knight can reach are in total 24, 8 plus 8 plus 8. Here you can see all of them. It looks very nice, right? They form a sort of larger triple orbital that I call a constellation of boxes around the Grand Knight. This is the Grand Knight's constellation. Obviously, when it's positioned near the sides or edges, there are less boxes available. Minimum number is 6 when the Grand Knight is in a corner box. Thus, 6 to 24 boxes are available. A Grand Knight can capture an opponent's grand piece if it's staying in the arrival box. And needless to say, the Grand Knight can reach those boxes even with other grand pieces in between. Chess players say it can jump. You have 20 Grand Knights on your side when you're starting the game. Finally, we have this last grand piece. This is the Grand Pawn. It's a grand piece that always moves forward in advancement, but advancing to where? Obviously towards the opposite wing. So White's Grand Pawns start their journey on rank plane 2 and advance at each move towards rank plane 8. Black's Grand Pawns start their journey on rank plane 7 and advance at each move towards rank plane 1. This is quite simple. But the way of moving for the Grand Pawn is quite different when it simply advances straight forward from when it takes an opponent's grand piece. This is a peculiarity of the Grand Pawn compared to the other grand pieces. Let's see the simple advancement first. This is really simple. It moves on the same file one step towards the opposite wing. A white Grand Pawn here in eta c6 can move to eta c7, but only if eta c7 is empty. Otherwise, it cannot advance. A black Grand Pawn in beta g5 can move to beta g4, but only if this box beta g4 is empty. In this case, it cannot advance. Any grand piece staying in the advancement box, white or black, prevents the advancement of any Grand Pawn, white or black. But when the pawns are still in their starting position, that is rank plane 2 for white and rank plane 7 for black, then you can move them 1 or 2 steps, provided the box where you move them are empty. With this black Grand Pawn in theta f7, if I am black at my turn, I can move it to theta f6 or theta f5, provided these boxes are empty, of course. And now let's see the capture by a Grand Pawn. Well, it does not capture on the same boxes where it moves by straight advancement, but on different boxes. In practice, when it takes an opponent's grand piece, the Grand Pawn moves one step as a Grand Bishop while advancing towards the opposite wing. This white Grand Pawn in gamma d5 cannot take the black Grand Queen in gamma d6, and also cannot move there, but it can take black's Grand Pawns in gamma e6 and delta d6, as well as the black Grand Knight in gamma c6 and Grand Bishops in beta d6. So yes, our Grand Pawns can take on up to 4 boxes. The minimum is 2 boxes when they are positioned in a corner square. But let's see this. If the white Grand King is here in gamma d3, the Grand Pawn cannot take any of those grand pieces because it's pinned. It will expose a check from the black Grand Queen to the white Grand King. Remember, you never can put your Grand King on the threat. Look at this black Grand Pawn in alpha h6. It cannot move to alpha h5 because of the black Grand Bishop in there. But it can take the white Grand Pawn in alpha g5 as well as the white Grand Rook in beta h5. And my friends, please take note that you have 64 of these Grand Pawns at your disposal when you start your game. That's quite an impressive army of Grand Pawns. So, how many opportunities do we have in Grand Chess? Just consider this. At first move in chess, white can choose from 20 possible alternatives. Black 2 has 20 choices. So after first move by white and black, you can reach 400 different positions like this. Okay? In GrandChess, white has 200 choices for first move, and black has 200 as well, so you can reach 40,000 different positions. That's exactly 100 times as many, and this is only after first move. You see, there's a lot of stuff to study here for opening theory. Just a curiosity for those of us with a mathematical mind. A cubic space as the GrandChess framework has other diagonals besides the ones we've seen. You can call them the three-dimensional diagonals. Here are a pair of examples. The grid diagonal from alpha A1 to theta H8, or this one from alpha H3 to zeta C8, and many more, of course. But GrandChess does not use these diagonals, as any move in our play must be made on a level plane or a prospect plane or a rank plane. That means starting box and arrival box always are on the same plane. One of these. Maybe one day somebody will propose a super GrandChess game adding this kind of possibilities, but I think by now the opportunities we have in GrandChess are more than abundant. Okay, my friends, now we've seen the movements of the GrandPieces in this extraordinary play of GrandChess. Don't miss the next video lesson, the third one, about some special but important moves.